Welcome to this episode of the VR Cast, hosted by the VR Business Club. Welcome to this episode. I'm really excited to have Joe Michaels here with me. Joe is the Chief Revenue Officer at Haptics, and this is probably one of the most exciting topics at the moment. I mean, we have great guests all the time, but this one is a very special one because with Haptics, and we'll learn a lot about it, we combine kind of the haptics so that you touch and feel something and see something. And I think this is kind of obviously the element which is missing in our space here. And but this is coming. And so I'm very glad and happy to have you, Joe, here to present to the audience. As said before, we have always a good gathering on the live stream, the YouTube live stream. So for those folks outside, welcome to this episode. It's great to have you here. We really look forward to an amazing session. As always, we do the floor is yours in a moment, and then you've prepared a beautiful, wonderful presentation, and then the floor is open for Q&A. So with that, Joe, welcome again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Michael. Hi, everyone. It's great to see you here, and it's great to be presenting to all the people on the live stream. I love to talk about HaptX, and I love to talk about haptics. I hope that distinction is clear. Our company name, HaptX, is a play on the word haptics, meaning the recreation of the sense of touch. And we have been at this for more than 8 years. Again, my name is Joe Michaels. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of the company. They hired me just over 4 years ago to help commercialize this incredible technology for touch feedback. And I have really been enjoying myself meeting with companies all over Europe, all over Asia, and all over North America to bring them our unique technology, our unique approach to providing a sense of touch. I'm really sorry that I can't bring my product, HaptX Gloves, here to you today. There's nothing quite like trying a product, a haptics product, but we'll talk about it, and someday I hope we'll find an opportunity to meet in person, and you really must put your hands in it to believe it. So
yeah,
Michael,
definitely. Maybe Joe, maybe you can also talk a little bit about kind of the business. You said kind of you are talking to all the people around the world, maybe also specifically in Europe later on, so that people get an idea. That would be lovely.
Yes, of course. We'll be sure to do that. So before I get into it, let me just start by explaining what this is. For those of you who have been involved in virtual reality, I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of haptics, and I'm sure you understand about haptic gloves and wearables that give you a sense of touch feedback. Many years ago, we thought as a company, maybe we would make a product for games and entertainment. And we quickly realized that as exciting as games and entertainment may be, enterprise and industrial uses are the future of haptics, at least for the next several years. That is where we will find the most traction, the most interest, and the best results. So we have really decided to focus on 3 industries, 3 general markets for our wearable product. We focus on training, design, and robotics. And we'll go through each of those in a little bit more detail. And the picture that you see on the screen is what we call HaptX Gloves. This is a unique product which has many patents in the United States and elsewhere. And we are extremely excited about it. We think it is the best product in the industry for this. And so let's talk about haptics in general and what we're trying to do here. Oh, by the way, if you would like to stay in touch, my email address is here on the presentation and my Twitter handle. So I hope we can stay in touch.
Yeah, and you're also very responsive on LinkedIn, I must say. So thank you for that. Yeah,
yes,
so if you want to connect with Joe via LinkedIn, that works well too.
Okay, so first let's just talk for a moment about haptics, and let's talk about the sense of touch. So we like to think of haptics as being general purpose usage, something that is valuable for many different applications. And you think about computer games and how haptics have to work for all the games. This is not something where you want it to work for one game and not another. It is most beneficial when it's general purpose. And at the same time, haptics today are very symbolic. They don't work extremely well. For example, when you are driving a car in one of these video games and the car crashes, the controller may rumble a little bit and give you a vibration. And you're supposed to feel the horror, the pain of the crash, and it's communicated through a little vibration that goes brrr. And so that's okay. That's
Yes,
not bad. That's haptics today. We call that symbolic. It symbolizes contact or touch. And so let me take our next slide. Get to our next slide here.
So you're talking about the PlayStation also.
Exactly. That's
yes,
right.
Yeah.
So moving away from games for a minute, you can get into the other end of haptics, the other end of the spectrum, where you get extreme realism. Let's think about touch feedback for training an airline pilot. And you can recreate something so realistic that it feels exactly one-to-one with reality. But the difficulty with creating extremely realistic touch feedback is when you build one of these full motion flight simulators, once you've built it, it's done. It has one purpose, a single purpose, to train a pilot. It's very expensive, and so you're very limited in that way. So what we think about is this graph, this spectrum, on the scale of realistic to symbolic and single purpose to general purpose. Today's haptics for VR tend to be in this bottom right quadrant, where it's very general purpose but low quality. Or, as I said before, you might be in that upper left quadrant, for industrial haptics and industrial simulation, very limited purpose, but super realistic. So what we're excited about is bringing our product into this top right, this area where haptics is something that can be used across every VR and robotic application, and it's very realistic. So you may ask yourself, what does this look like? Well, we all dream about the movie Ready Player One and the book Ready Player One. I don't know if you've seen this or read this, but it was a wonderful depiction of the potential, right, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so this is something we've been asking ourselves. How do you build a wearable for this industry that can really be general purpose and be super realistic? And here is how we did it. We created this material that we call a microfluidic skin, and it's extremely unique in the industry. It's made out of silicone rubber, and it has a number of these actuators, these bubbles that you see here, embedded in the material. And there are tiny channels, micro channels that stretch from this skin all the way through tubes to a bunch of piezoelectric valves located inside a console. And we are able to deliver extremely realistic feedback to these actuators on this skin, and it meets all of the criteria, all of the goals that we were shooting for when we thought of realistic feedback. And rather than go through all the goals, let me just show you what it looks like. So this is a piece of the skin, and this is something that your finger would touch. And these actuators can rise and fall with extreme precision and extreme accuracy, and they can displace your skin. They press against your real skin inside of a glove, and they give you the same feeling of contact that you get when you touch something in the real world. And
That's
this is
incredible.
yes, thank you. It's a unique approach, and it creates the same kind of physical feeling you get when you touch a real object. So let me show you what these look like. Okay, so this is the HaptX Glove, and inside of it, we have many different pieces of that skin material that I just showed you. And it gives you an excellent sense of tactile feedback. We have 100 inside each glove. Many gloves that you might try today for VR use vibration for feedback, and they might have a few different vibrating pads or rumble zones. We have 130 different points of tactile feedback inside each glove, and that really gives you a sense of the texture and the size of each object. And then, we're just getting to our next slide. What's really exciting about this is it combines the tactile feedback you get across the fingertips and the palm with a special system on the back of the hand that delivers force feedback that will stop your fingers as they close around a virtual object. You want to feel a solid object like it's solid, and your fingers must stop in exactly the correct place for that to happen. And so these green tendons that you see on the back of this glove, they're like a mini exoskeleton on the back of the hand, and they will break the movement of your fingers in exactly the right shape of the object. And they can apply up to 4 pounds of resistance per finger. So you can get about 20 pounds of force stopping your fingers on each hand. And that really gives you a sense of the shape and the mass of an object.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's really some applause. I saw that here. Thank you. I think that's amazing. That's incredible.
Thank you. It has taken many years to develop, and we did a test where we turned off the tactile feedback and only tried the force feedback, and it felt wrong. And then we tried a test where we used only the force feedback and turned off tactile and really tried all the different variations, and we couldn't get it to feel right until we had the combination. Without that combination, it feels like, do you know the expression, the uncanny valley? Where you get something close to realistic, but as it gets too close without being enough, it feels wrong. And so that's why we combine those. And then there's one other system here, which is a unique magnetic tracking system, because in VR, the accuracy of finger tracking is critical. If you want realism, if you want to believe that you are reaching out and touching something and that object is real, you must know exactly where every digit is in space. And we know within 1 millimeter where every digit is because we have a unique magnetic finger tracking system that can know with extreme precision and 6 degrees of freedom where every finger is in space. So there's a magnetic sensor in every fingertip, and with that system and the inverse kinematics that we use in software, we have, I think, the best motion tracking system in the industry. And then finally, for those of you who are developers, it's important when you have a product like this to offer tools that make it easy to integrate your VR project with a system like ours. So we have a Unity plugin, an Unreal Engine plugin. We support all the Steam VR motion tracking. So all those tools make it extremely easy.
Very good.
Thank you. And so how is this useful? Where is this best put to use today? Well, the biggest and I think most exciting application for most of our customers is training. We're seeing a massive shift from physical training to virtual training in almost every field, almost every category. It is safer, it is more cost effective, it is just generally easier and a better system for people to learn to use their hands with virtual reality. You don't just want to learn about something, you want to learn to do it. And you want to be able to practice your skill over and over and over again and repeat it enough times that you build real muscle memory. And
absolutely, I think we had some weeks ago we had Jerry Mondolton from PwC here. Yeah, he presented this amazing VR study, and he talked about the successes of just VR in training and how much more effective and that training is, and how much faster people learn. So I can imagine that using this element on top of it even tops kind of that progress.
it does. And what makes it useful is the fact that you can use your hands naturally, and you don't need controllers, and you get such a realistic sense of what you're touching that you can practice the activity, the task, over and over and over again, and build the same kind of real muscle memory you would get that if you used a physical training method.
Yes.
So you can see here we're working with a company in the United Kingdom called Fundamental VR, and they're one of the top VR surgery training programs, and they have a system that lets you hold a haptic tool in one hand, it's a pen, and then the other hand wears our glove, and you can feel the surgery that you're performing. You can feel the bone and the cavity or the hole in the bone that you're drilling.
Wow.
And you can get a sense of how deep it is, and you can feel muscle and skin around the bone, and it's that level of precision enables the people, the trainee, to learn better. And
I think the fascinating, I mean, you can actually feel things you can't feel in real life. I mean, you can kind of, you can touch things you couldn't touch in real life. I mean, you can't take, kind of touch a heart, an open heart or something like that, which probably can simulate here.
You're right.
So there's completely new opportunities, yes. Yeah.
That's right. And you can also create simulated environmental challenges that are safe and easy to create, but in real life would be terribly dangerous. Right?
Yes.
You could create distractions, or we work with the U.S. military. The Army is working with us to train Army medics, people who go operate on other soldiers. And when we do that, they bring in all kinds of conditions that make it challenging, tough to do their jobs. And if you can learn how to do your job well in that environment, you can do it very well in real life. And so we're working with educators, with industrial training, with manufacturing companies. We're working really across government and industry to bring training to life and make it more realistic. So you don't just learn about it, learn how to do it. And that's something that I think I've seen European companies really embrace training faster in some ways than U.S. companies, and I'm really hopeful that I'll get a chance to show this to you in person, so you can try it and learn, see how much faster you learn.
Very nice. Yes.
Then there's another application which was one of the first that our customers brought to us, and that's design. It is just like training where there's a shift from physical to virtual. The automakers and the aerospace companies and other manufacturers of large-scale products spend an enormous amount of time in the prototyping phase. They dream up their designs, and then they must build them in whether in plastic or steel or 3D printing. It takes days or weeks or months, and it takes millions of dollars in many cases to try something physical that represents your design. And so HaptX is working with companies like Nissan and many other automakers to let the designers try their designs very early on. At the earliest stages, as soon as you have a CAD model, you can now try your 3D design and feel it and operate it like it's real. And now you can understand where it works, you can understand where it's failing, and it is an extremely effective way to reduce the time that it takes to get to a finished product. And with collaboration tools, you can have everyone around the world on your design team try the product, understand it, make suggestions, and improve the product before you've even bent the first piece of steel or molded the first piece of plastic. And so that we think is
totally amazing. Absolutely. I mean, already the 3D printing shortened the development cycle significantly, because you could actually print something quickly and see and feel that. But this is obviously a complete different level now. So you touch and feel that, and you can crowd design. I mean, you could put out your design, and you can get feedback from future customers and so on around the world, and then crowd design your product.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. And collaboration is so important because it creates a bad eco footprint, let's say, to fly people from all over the world into one space to physically try something. Now they get to touch it and try it without leaving their office or their home. And here is the newest, but I think in some ways the most thrilling application for our gloves and for haptics, and that is bringing touch feedback to robots. So you've long had robotic arms. Many of them have simple two-finger grippers as end effectors at the end of the robot arm. And more recently, there has been an incredible advancement in the design of robot hands. So you now have dexterous robotic hands with 5 fingers, and they can operate with extreme accuracy and precision. But what the maker of the leading robotic hand in the world, Shadow Robot, came to us and said, we don't have any way for a human being to control these robotic hands and get touch feedback on their fingers and their palm so they feel what the robot hand is feeling in real time. And so we work together very closely with the companies on this slide, Shadow Robot Company. The whole thing was funded by the Japanese airline ANA, and also 2 companies you may not know, SynTouch and Tangible Research, that make the sensors on the fingertips of the robot hand, these blue sensors that let the robot hand touch and feel the environment and understand what they're touching. And so we connected our gloves to the other end, and now whether you're standing a few meters behind the robot hands or you might be standing across the ocean, in real time you can feel what a robot hand is feeling, and you can get it to perform extremely dexterous tasks. So here you see a robot hand playing with simple tools, but we have had a robot hand solve a Rubik's Cube. We've had a robot hand perform simple medical procedures. We've had a robot hand operating equipment, and the operator has often been standing thousands of miles away. And when you combine this with great vision systems and computer vision, you can get a 360-degree view of the environment. And soon we'll be able to mount these robot hands and arms on a mobile vehicle or a base, and you'll be able to move this wherever it needs to go and operate everything that needs to be operated. So, for example, if you want to perform a medical procedure and have an expert from thousands of miles away watch the procedure, help perform it with his or her hands, you can do that telemedicine. If you want to go defuse a bomb that may be threatening population, you can send in a bot and have that bot with robot hands do the dangerous work of defusing the bomb. You can decommission a nuclear site, or go in and go to the space station and perform repairs, or something as simple as welding underwater a giant piece of equipment. The list of tasks is almost endless, and it's safer and more effective to do it over a distance. And one of the things I find fascinating is when we think about robotics, we think about taking people out of the equation. Automation will make sure that no human beings have any jobs. But what I love about this technology is it keeps humans in the situation. Human beings have the intelligence. Human beings have dexterity. And so we're valuable. So when you combine humans and robots, you get this kind of power and this kind of value.
Yeah, it's a great example. I mean, it's just so amazing. Yeah, seeing what is possible, yeah, what is coming, and also like this combination. I mean, that's this massive enhancement, yeah, of our human capabilities, in all ways. And I see clearly in this area, you have this kind of the whole space of dangerous activities. I think that's massive. So it's really kind of saving lives. Yeah, and I think this is a huge area, and it's very fascinating to see that actually these organizations, yeah, approach you and want to work with you because they see kind of these use cases and the additional value you can add there.
Yes, they do. Did we have a question here? I saw someone raised a hand.
Otherwise, yeah, let me then. If there's a question, then I'll just kind of unmute. Was there a question? Pascal? No?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. I just wanted to know if there's a kind of maximum amount of time that you can use the gloves before you feel uncomfortable about it or using them.
Yeah, because that's a great question.
I can imagine it will be necessary to wear them for appropriate time to do a certain task.
Yes. We have been through many different versions of the glove since we first started, and when the glove first came out, it was heavy, and it was difficult to wear for more than maybe 15 minutes. But that was one of our engineers' goals, was to get the weight down and get the freedom of movement strong enough that you can wear it now for really any length of time. We have people in there for hours, and our big test is, does the headset get uncomfortable before the gloves get uncomfortable? And if the answer is yes, then we've done our job. And I think that's where we are today.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yes. And thank you. And so here's a funny, I'm happy to answer other questions, by the way, but here's a funny picture. I don't know if you're familiar with Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon. He had us
who's not?
Yeah, okay, good. So he had us come to his show, one of his trade events, and there were hundreds of exhibitors at this show, and luckily he picked us to try our product, and he put these gloves on, and he tried to do everything, and he loved what he felt, and he called the feedback tremendous, and there were reporters there to take pictures. And he did this wonderful thing where he threw his arms up like a comic book character, like a comic book supervillain, and Reddit and Twitter and Instagram had a really fun time, and our Instagram followers quadrupled in like 1 hour, and so this has been a really nice demonstration of the power of telerobotics when you get that such feedback.
Congratulations, nice.
And he even was doing this without any training in advance.
Yeah. Yes.
So Heiko, I think there's a sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I had a question for the target price, and if you are going to bring out different models, different so like target groups.
Yes. So we have not yet announced our first commercial product. What you see here is our development kit. And the development kit has been used by customers around the world more like on a rental model or a lease model. We loan it to them so they can get value out of it. And what we're developing right now as we speak is our first commercial product. We hope to have an announcement about it very soon, and we'll announce the price at that time. I will say it is really priced for enterprise, priced for business. It is not priced for consumers and gaming. Maybe someday down the road, 5 years from now, we'll have a product that you can use at home for fun. But now it is really meant for business, and it's a premium product, and it's something that businesses should be able to deploy widely for all of those applications I mentioned. And I hope to be able to tell you more about it and let you try the product. It's incredibly exciting. When COVID-19 lets us travel again.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah. I think to kind of experience that, I think you need to have, you need to travel again. Otherwise, that gets difficult. Was there another question, Pascal? No, who had a question here? Sorry, no. Okay.
Here's one.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi,
Chris.
Chris. Yeah, I also have a question. Like you were talking about the 130 sensors there actually, and so my question is, are you able to differentiate between like various surfaces? I think you mentioned that, but I could imagine there's a big spectrum of surfaces, right? So it's not only just hard surfaces, but sometimes you have very smooth surfaces. I'm thinking of hair, for instance, if you like have a cat or something and you touch over that and something. Is the glove able like to differentiate between such a variation and a broad spectrum of surfaces, and also other sensations, like for instance, not only pressure, but if there's a resistance in the object, then I mean you're being stopped, your fingers being stopped, but you also have other sensations like pain, for instance, if you touch fire or so. Is that also like in the range of possibility to simulate, or is that not in the or is this not even a use case? I mean, usually probably you wouldn't use that very often in the industry, but there might be certain use cases or edge cases.
No, I think you've mentioned some extremely important features and use cases, and we get those requests a lot. And the good news is we have developed capabilities just like that. So we are able to deliver to the beginning of your question. We can deliver a sensation of texture when it's a gross texture or something that delivered through a bump map in the software. For example, the stitches on the steering wheel of a car, or when two pieces of metal come together and you want to be able to feel the seam or the groove between the metal. We can deliver that feedback with that kind of precision. What we're still working on is fine texture. So So makers of luxury products often say to me, if you can let my customers feel the difference between one leather and another leather, then I would use this for shopping. I would want my customers to try and feel all of my products. I have thousands of products and I want them to feel the softness of one leather or, the smoothness of another. And I explained to them that we cannot do that yet. We are working on it, and it may take us a few years, but we know how to deliver that. It's a very complex thing, so we are working on that kind of texture. But you also asked about temperature and heat and thermal feedback, which is extremely important when you're training someone for safety. You need to deliver a sense of as you said, discomfort or pain if you get too close to something dangerous. And we have used hot and cold water inside our system to heat and cool the material inside the glove, and it is incredibly effective. We were able to have great fun with an animated dragon that would fly in front of you and blow hot fire across your hand, and you could feel the heat move across your hand, and it was quite frightening to some people. And the good news is we know how to do it. The bad news is we decided to take that feature out of our first product because it makes it extremely complicated, and we want to do safety testing and that kind of thing. So it will take us another, maybe another year or so before we can bring that thermal feedback back into the product. One last thing I'll tell you is we learned that when you add hot and cold at the same time in the same place on your skin, it leads to a feeling of extreme discomfort, and it's almost like pain. And so we know now how to deliver a sense of pain without hurting you. And the only way I can describe it is when you are outside in the ice cold temperature and you come in and you put your hands under hot water. It feels wrong. It feels extremely uncomfortable. So you almost need cold water after a cold day. That kind of hot and cold at once feels like pain. And so we have an effective way to use that for training.
Thank you, Joe. So fascinating. I mean, it's such an amazing area. What I really like is that you started 8 years ago. Yeah, so it's like it's. I mean, you're not a new startup. Yeah, you've been around for a while, and I think that's a great example for the exponential developments. Yeah, this deceptive phase, as Peter de Mendes calls them. Yeah, and I assume the demand on your products is significantly increasing at the moment. Is that right?
It is. I was very worried about the effects of COVID-19 and coronavirus, but I have to say, with everyone being at home and wishing that they could be with other people, and and everyone trying more virtual technology, I think there's been a surprisingly strong demand for telepresence, for touch feedback in robotics. We recently sold one of our robot products to a large tech company to do some really exciting, innovative work. So we're starting to see great things come out of this terrible situation with the virus. So we're hopeful that when the economy recovers and travel comes back, all of this demand for the product, will be realized.
Fascinating. Questions? Other questions here from the audience? Yeah, Pascal. We can't hear you yet.
First of all, it was a very interesting presentation so far. Thank you so much for that. I just would like to know if there's if you have any kind of representative within Europe, so a physical prototype where we can test things.
Yes,
because
today...
sorry, just go ahead.
No, please.
No, because I was lucky enough to test one of the prototypes, but it's already like 1.5, 2 years ago almost. And so I would really like to learn or to get a sense of how it changed, actually changed, and how does it feel nowadays, because I saw that presentation with Jeff and a lot of other things, and to get a better understanding of how we can use it and elaborate it for our clients.
Okay, so let me just go to our slide with my contact information. The best way for you to try the product is to be in touch with me, and we will make sure when we come to Europe, we can arrange to meet with you and let you demo the product. We have some opportunities for you to demo the glove product for virtual reality, and other opportunities to demonstrate the telerobot. And we are looking into establishing a network of resellers in Europe that will have the product, that will make it easier for you to try it. So we don't need to meet at a trade show. You can meet with resellers. And if you know of any that you trust and you like, I hope you'll reach out to me and tell me which companies you like to work with. That'll help me select the resellers that we use. There's nothing we can do today because of the lack of travel, but I think as things open up later this year, we should be very actively distributing the product throughout Europe.
And I think one good path, Joe, but that's maybe for afterwards, is actually the VR Business Club itself. Yeah, so I think that could be a really, really good, nice platform for you to make that kind of, that product well known here, especially very much in the German market. So I think that could be a good other idea.
Do you meet in person as well as in Altspace?
Yes, absolutely. So Maren and Oliver, you met both of them who founded the VR Business Club. Yeah, so there's regular events, physical events when they are back again, and at the moment the virtual events. Yeah, we just said for the VR cast, basically we are using this virtual space, but yes, there are physical events and all type of events. So that's I think worth having a discussion later on when you plan your Europe trips.
Wonderful. I saw
another. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Please,
yes.
Please,
no, go ahead. Yes, there's another question. Yeah. Chris.
Yes. Hi. So I was just wondering how stationary it is. So I assume it only works through wires, but how big is the pump you said? Yeah.
Yes. So we use compressed air to generate this feedback, and our engineers developed a really wonderful, elegant, small air compressor. We call it a smart compressor, and it is a small box that can sit under a table or a desk, and it generates an endless supply of clean air almost silently. The fan of the laptop or the tower computer is usually louder than the air compressor for this system, which is amazing, and it supplies all the air into this console box that sits on a tabletop, or someday you'll be able to wear it on your body, and that's filled with German piezoelectric valves that control the flow of air into the gloves, and so this is all of the equipment that you need, all of the hardware, and it's I'd love to show it to you in person. You'll see that it's not everything fits neatly on your body yet, but I think for a seated or a standing application, it's perfect. And when we are able to fit it on your body, which we'll talk more about in coming months, you'll have room scale mobility. And I think that delivers the kind of feedback that most applications need.
Wonderful, thank you, Joe. Other questions here from the audience? Not at the moment. No. I think we have there's so much potential, and I think you are really at the forefront with that. So one question I would have is how relevant is for you the whole 5G development and the speed of communication in terms of what you do, also the remote work and things like that?
Yes, we have been in discussions with most of the major networks, the providers of 5G, because when you're inside a lab or your office, it's not critical really to have that kind of mobile communication power. But when you're thinking about teleoperation of robots, or you're thinking about sort of generally, sort of telepresence, those robots need to be, to be deployed across a very wide area, and they need to be connected through a network like a 5G network. And, you need extremely low latency. So when you reach out to touch something, that sense of touch is delivered to the operator in real time with almost no latency. And the amount of latency that a 5G network offers is exactly right for telerobotics with haptics. So we're in deep discussions with a lot of these companies to show off the power of touch in a telerobotic application using 5G. And we think that's really, really exciting, because not only is there the touch, by the way, you have a lot of bandwidth needs. You need the vision the data from the vision, you need the processing power, and now the haptics. And so all of that is perfect, I think, for a 5G system.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think especially touch is something like this is I mean, this is the thing which is so real time. Yeah, so you touch that moment, and it's only that moment. I mean, you can't have any delays in a touch and feel. It's different when you have. I mean, when I watch you and your mouth moves, I don't know, slower, yeah, than you speak. I think I can process that. But if I touch something which I touched a second ago, yeah, then something disconnects completely, isn't it? So I think there's the requirements just from the human body are higher than in some other areas.
Yes, we've used 4G mobile networks to deliver the visuals and the touch feedback. And sometimes that didn't work because it requires less bandwidth for the haptic feedback. So sometimes you can actually feel the telerobot application before you can see it. And that's a very spooky, uncanny thing when you're feeling the world and it takes a moment before you see the contact. So getting that exactly right is really critical.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's funny. I mean, when you hear see a lightning, yeah, and the thunder, I think we are very much used to this kind of this gap between the visual and the auditorio. But I think with the haptic and the viewing, it's different because that's everything around our body. So it's like, yeah, there's the brain doesn't know how to compute that, and that's when we land in that valley. Any other questions? Otherwise, yeah, there's one
over here.
Maren.
Yes, thank you for the very impactful presentation. My question is, what is your vision for the future? Are there more use cases in the B2C sector planned?
Yes, I'm really glad you asked that. The company began with a vision for a full body system. So you see us focusing completely on the hands today, but we know exactly how to scale this up to the full body. It's relatively easy because the hard part is tricking your fingertips with all their sensitivity. So we will be able over time to create full body feedback. And we can use that for even greater training and also for entertainment and education. The idea of creating a simulation where your body is supported by a full body exoskeleton and you have the full body haptic feedback, you can simulate almost any activity or almost any environment. And, you could go skydiving and really believe you're skydiving, or you could climb a mountain, or fight with a monster, or do anything, that you can imagine, and everything feels realistic. So our vision is absolutely to bring the rest of the body into the system and deliver the same level of realism that we have today. And we think that will really lift entertainment and into a new place where you won't need a giant theme park. You could have a theme park all in your little 5 meter by 5 meter space. You could, if your body weight is borne by this exoskeleton, you can run in place and feel like you're running for miles without really moving at all. And so they're really exciting entertainment opportunities. One part of your question is, will we get it to a low price enough that a consumer can use it at home? And maybe someday we will. We have ideas for that, but we're so focused on enterprise and business and industry that that's not part of our short-term plans yet.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think a great question, Maren, because I think I wanted to ask something similar like this outlook, which almost gives me kind of reminds me then of the surrogate, the movie, where you sit at home and you live your life from the chair at home, and you feel and experience everything. Is that right?
Yes, we think that's exciting. I always worry personally about a system that keeps you completely at home.
Yes.
You know,
Mhm.
we really hope that this helps you go out and learn how to do things in
Yes.
the real world,
Mm.
and design things that will be used in the real world, and you know, try entertainment with other people from around the world. So hopefully it's a connector. But yes, I can see opportunities. But there are
Mm.
some people who are unable to leave home, and bringing,
Yes.
or we've brought this into hospitals and used it to entertain patients
Mhm.
and kids, and that's pretty special. So I think
Absolutely.
there are
Mm.
applications, you know, for you know, for people who are located in, you know, kept in a location. It's a
Yeah.
really cool way to use it.
Absolutely. I think there's so much opportunity. So one last round. Any final questions here for Joe? You see the contact details again here, email and Twitter, and as I said, LinkedIn as well. So connect with Joe. Any other questions? Well, then, Joe, thank you very much. I think it was a really exciting presentation. Lots of great questions here from the audience. I'm sure there will be a lot more. Yes, let's do kind of a lot of hands here. Yeah. I mean, you are working really in such a fascinating area with a great product. Thank you for making here to the VR Business Club and the VR Cast. Yeah, all the best for Haptics and the work ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you, Maren, and everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to speak with you. Can't wait to meet you in person soon.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, and have a nice afternoon, everyone. See you next time when we have our next guest. It will be announced shortly. So yeah, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.